what's next for Jake Paul? Well, Jake Paul said that he's releasing his next fight on Monday, which means tomorrow. But after knocking out Ryan Borland in round 1, with his next round, well, the fight that we want to see is the rematch with Tommy Fury, in which Jake Paul dropped Tommy Fury but still lost their first fight. And I got Jake Paul winning the rematch, and I'll tell you why. Because Tommy Fury has had only one fight against KSI after the Jake Paul fight, and Jake Paul has had 3 fights after the Tommy Fury fight, in which 2 of those fights were against 2 pro boxers, in which he knocked them out in round 1. So for that reason, I got Jake Paul knocking out Tommy Fury. Now the next fight that we want to see from Jake Paul is a fight with KSI, in which this fight just makes sense since both have fought and lost to Tommy Fury. Now I got Jake Paul winning this fight, and I'll tell you why. Because Jake Paul's performance against Tommy Fury was way more impressive than KSI's performance. And not only that, but Jake Paul also has way more experience and way more skill than KSI. And not only that, but KSI doesn't look like he's taking boxing seriously anymore.
Now, when you look at it, it's actually really hard to guess who will be Jake Paul's next opponent, because as of right now, they all been pro boxers that we never heard of. I'm talking about to the point where it's hard to find their fights and watch their fights on YouTube. So realistically, his next opponent could just be another nobody that we never heard of, or it could be somebody who's somewhat known but is still unrecognized to most people. And you would think it gains him credibility since they are pro boxers with a lot of experience, but it actually doesn't gain him any credibility, because as of right now, they all been pro boxers who are old men who are looking for a big paycheck and don't even care about their boxing careers anymore. So I believe that if Jake Paul's next opponent is another old man who hasn't been active, then he's most likely going to win the fight, and he should win the fight. But where I believe that Jake Paul is going to start to have some problems and maybe even lose the fights is when he begins to fight pro boxers who are around his age and who are active and actually care about their boxing careers. And Tommy Fury is a good example, because before Tommy Fury fought Jake Paul, he only had 8 fights, but he was young and active and actually cared about his boxing career, which can explain why it wasn't an easy fight for Jake Paul. So in the end, assuming that Jake Paul is going to announce a big fight this Monday, it has to be somebody that we all know, and it being KSI or Tommy Fury is a little bit unreal, so it's most likely going to be a young and talented boxer with a decent following.